world, my name is Nicholas Montez, and welcome back to the Teenage Movie Critic, and I am your fellow movie enthusiast, Nicholas Montez. And today's video, we're not reviewing a movie, unfortunately, but we are reviewing a TV show inside of a part movie universe, and that is Marvel Zombies. I am very well aware that I'm very late on reviewing this show. I've been wanting to talk about it, I've been wanting to put my thoughts on out there, but I haven't had the time to do that yet, but now I officially have the time. I wanted to have like an outfit to wear today, but all I have was the Marvel hat and Marvel Zombies, and it's black, so it resembles that really well. So we're going to go ahead and get started, but before we do, make sure to comment down below what were your thoughts on Marvel Zombies, and give it a point of reference. Were you excited for the show? What were your thoughts going into it? And what did you think about the first 4 episodes? And are you excited for Season 2? One more thing before we get started. If you happen to like this, what you see on this channel, and if you like this video, please leave a like and leave a comment or start subscribing. And if you want to follow me on Letterboxd, I'll leave a picture on the screen. With that said, let's go ahead and start reviewing Marvel Animation's latest animated series. Okay, so we're going to talk about episode 1, beginning with introducing the characters of Riri Williams, Kate Bishop, and Miss Marvel. So I'll talk about the positives with this trio here, because I think their chemistry worked really well, and I am excited to see a live-action version of that in live-action if we ever get like a Young Avengers. The problem that I have with it, and I don't mean to start negative when it comes to this show, is it just feels weird that it starts off with the high school girls, or starts with the girls in general. Not to say I'm woke or anything, but it feels weird because it did that. So that's just my personal opinion. Also, we got to see Friday in the Iron Man armor, so that was kind of cool too. And then we get Zombie Captain Marvel and Icarus, which I kind of feel like this is one of the more disappointing parts of the episode, which I'll get onto that later. But I kind of feel like that when we saw them, it's like it was kind of exciting to hear that they're going to be zombies. And now it's kind of like it's not that exciting anymore, and especially for what they said, it's like the Valley of the Undead Gods or whatever. Like, I'm not sure if that'll be something that we'll explore in Season 2, but I thought that was kind of an underwhelming, like, thing that we got. And they just don't use some of the zombie characters to their full potential, which is kind of unfortunate. Now, I guess we could talk about Blade, since after Kate Bishop and Riri die, or at least Kate Bishop dies, Miss Marvel stumbles upon Blade, and I guess this is the part where we can talk about Blade here. And I thought Blade was very cool. I wish I could say he was the best part of the series. He's definitely one of the better parts of the series. I just kind of wish he had a little bit more to do. I mean, besides the ghost fight with him once they meet the Black Widows, I just kind of wish that he did a little bit more. But other than that, like, he did pretty much good, and I think he could definitely work in the MCU, and I'm very much more excited for the Blade film whenever they decide to work on it. But then we head to the abandoned S.H.I.E.L.D. base, where we meet Red Guardian, Yelena, and Melina, and this is where I think the episode truly changed my mind. And even the addition of Blade truly made me like the episode a little bit better, because I wasn't feeling it with the Kate Bishop and Riri Williams and Miss Marvel. But once we got the Black Widows and the Red Guardian stuff, oh, I was actually into all of that. And there was just something so much fun. And I don't know if it's because, like, we just got Thunderbolts this year, so seeing these characters again just was so much fun. And surprisingly, I tend to think that, like, Red Guardian was usually annoying, but after Thunderbolts and one of the episodes in What If, I'm actually liking his character a lot more. Of course, I'm going to love Yelena. But I also didn't expect to love these characters as much because we've been seeing them so much. But it's actually refreshing to see them in this show. One more thing I want to add on this section is that I really think that the MCU, in some ways, mostly of this show, what it does so well is that it knows the MCU well, that it's smart. And so they decide to take little things from the other Phase 4 and 5 movies, such as the Black Widows and the Red Room, and they did something interesting with that. And I thought it was really fascinating in the way that all captivated. And even, I also just love Red Guardian kind of hyping up the Black Widows, so that was a lot of fun. It was even so much more fun that we got to see Zombie Cap, half of them at least, and Red Guardian fight each other and have a little battle. So Red Guardian now, whenever he talks about fighting Captain America, he's not lying about it anymore because he actually did fight Captain America, just a zombified half version of him. So that was also really fun. And then of course we get the iconic Blade versus Zombie Ghost fight that we saw in the trailer. It was probably the thing that got me really hyped when I first saw that trailer. So, of course, even still watching it to this day, the fight is still awesome. So, overall, the first episode, while I did not like it first, I thought it got better as it went along, and I thought it was really good. So, I think overall, the character moments and the action definitely made up for it in this episode. So, I thought it was a solid 7 out of 10. So now we get into episode 2, where basically it opens on the other side of San Francisco on opening day with the Shang-Chi characters, with Shang-Chi and Katie, as Ant-Man and the Wasp aren't the only heroes in San Francisco, so it's showing the side of us with Shang-Chi and Katie, and I thought it was a great opening shot. I love this large, massive scale thing to show how insane this whole thing is. What made it even more epic is the fact that you had, like, large zombie ants and birds and people, which, of course, during this time, while the zombie apocalypse was going on, the PIM lab like erupted, so PIM particles were kind of going everywhere, and giants were becoming zombies, so it was becoming like a true fantasy in many cases. So I thought it was very creative with that, and it would be really interesting if that were to happen in live action. I think it would be really cool. We also get to see Jimmy Woo come back, which I thought was also kind of fun, especially since he's also one of the recurring San Francisco characters from Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I thought that was really cool. And then all of a sudden the military show up, which at first I kind of thought this was going to be the military and like John Walker's crew, which at first glance seems cool but also doesn't make sense logically, which I'll talk about that later on. But I was kind of thinking, they don't really do John Walker justice in the main timeline because he's a loser Captain America, especially since he killed someone in the front of the public. So I was thinking like, oh, so they finally made it with this 5-year time jump. They actually made him like the Captain America that everybody's wanted him, the one that he can like stop pulling his punches and he can actually go for it, and he could lead the army and he could do it, and he could possibly be the worst person to lead the army, but he could be humanity's last hope to lead it. But this really wouldn't make sense logically, as during the San Francisco attack, this takes place during the events between Ant-Man and the Wasp and Avengers Infinity War, and John Walker would not have been the new Captain America because during this time Steve Rogers was still Captain America, and he also wouldn't have been able to make his own shield or proclaim the name U.S. Agent, because the way he became U.S. Agent was because he became Captain America first, so him becoming U.S. Agent first would be really weird. Because why would he want to do that? He just wants to be a rip-off Captain America and try to be a Captain America wannabe. But if that did turn out differently and he actually did become the new Captain America, I think that would have been interesting, but they didn't do that, so that was kind of disappointing. But it turns out that the choppers and stuff was actually Wenwu and the Ten Rings organization, as Wenwu somehow found his son, and he also heard about a zombie apocalypse happening in San Francisco, so he decided to go on, send his men over, and help them. Which I did think was kind of weird, because it's like, what if Shang-Chi actually did happen earlier? Because I'm like, did something similar to this would have happened in like Infinity War? Like, unless, like, Shang-Chi had one of the Infinity Stones in San Francisco and the Black Order decided to do that. Would that have happened, or would he just not care? Like, it makes you wonder. But, so Wenwu decides to fight some of these people, and you get some solid Mandarin action, so solid Ten Ring action like we saw in the What If series with that Hela episode. But while they are fighting the zombies, Shang-Chi unfortunately gets bitten by one of the zombies, and to save his life from the infection, like, spreading over his body, Wenwu actually gives Shang-Chi the 10 rings and makes the sacrifice to save his own son. And Katie and Shang-Chi and the rest, and as well as Jimmy Woo, get on one of the choppers with the rest of the 10 rings and escape San Francisco. And turns out they were in this apocalypse for over 5 years, which is also where we met Kate Bishop, Riri Williams, and Miss Marvel in the first episode. That establishes that this zombie apocalypse, has been happening for over 5 years, much like how it did in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. The snap happened for 5 years, and we could not bring people back for 5 years. So now we get into the time jump, where basically Shang-Chi and friends are now on the run, basically, trying to avoid zombies, and they come across some biker Skrulls. And much like the Captain Marvel and Icarus zombies, these are a few of the new characters that I was kind of disappointed in them appearing, because they did nothing with them. They were just there for a few chase and to show off that Shang-Chi and Katie can use the rings together. Which, by the way, them using the rings together is really cool, but I was actually kind of excited to see what the Skrulls can do, and, like, could they possibly help us? But no, they're actually portrayed as bad guys in this universe, and we don't really get much of them. We don't really get much of the characters. It just felt kind of like a one-off thing. I don't know if it was, like, trying to attempt to make it feel like a lived-in universe, because it kind of did, but not really. So I have mixed feelings about it, but I thought it was kind of disappointing to see them do nothing with the Skrulls. So now our heroes are now going to this base to where basically it's kind of like a reinternment camp, or like a rehabilitation camp, to where basically you can be safe from the zombies. And they meet the other characters from episode 1, and they kind of reunite there. And lo and behold, this whole crew is led by Baron Zemo, with John Walker being his lead man, which kind of ironic that people are actually looking up to Zemo and cheering his name on. And it's also kind of crazy that John Walker is taking orders from Zemo, which is someone he was very against in Falcon Winter Soldier, but whatever. And so we basically get the raft, which is used as a base and used as a location, which once again is something else I really thought was smart. Much like the SHIELD base in episode 1, this one uses another MCU location that I thought was interesting and sweet. But it turns out that Zemo is using the raft to basically gather the superheroes, since he hates superheroes, and basically, because the raft is in the water, he's going to feed it to the underwater kingdom of Talokan, to Namor's people. And that brings us to talking about the Talokan of the ocean, Namor the Submariner. And I kind of don't have too many thoughts to say about Namor, other than the fact that this is where I kind of felt like the show started to get very vicious, where he probably gave, like, compared to Blade and, like, Red Guardian, or I guess Shang-Chi, he probably had the most brutal kills of the entire show. Like, this is probably the most goriest episode I've ever seen, because, like, you have him chopping John Walker in half. You have him like killing some of these, like, fellow people. You have him I thought he was almost going to kill Zemo at one point. And then you just have him, like, almost killing, like, Miss Marvel and Red Guardian and Shang-Chi. Like, this battle was insane, and the way they made it happen, it was really interesting. And having all the zombie Talokans and the prisoners fight, that was just really cool. So, the way Namor was used in this episode specifically was used really cool. Now, it kind of doesn't really help that much because Blade literally states Namor's name as to like he knows him. And I was thinking like, wait, Namor isn't like a public figure in the MCU until I guess the future of the MCU after Secret Wars. So how does Blade know him? And a lot of people are assuming it's the stuff with Khonshu. That's like a great pick, but I don't know. I never thought about it like that, but yeah, I guess Khonshu knew him. And so then we get the death of the Talokan with Miss Marvel basically blowing up Namor's head, which of course was an insane shot. Probably the most insane shot of the entire show. Loved this shot. And so now while everybody is trying to escape, we do get a bit of emotion in this episode besides Wenwu dying and a bunch of other people in San Francisco dying. We do get the death of, or sacrifice of, one of our favorite MCU heroes, Yelena Belova, to where she actually gets the chance to sacrifice herself and be with her sister finally. This one actually does hit pretty emotional, especially after watching Thunderbolts. The fact that she finally gets to be with her sister and she makes the ultimate sacrifice. Really touching, really sad, and overall, great stuff. So overall, this episode worked a lot better than me than the first episode. I thought it just had, like, right from the get-go, it just, like, consoled me in. It just, like, hooked me as soon as I started watching it. And from beginning to end, it was just a great episode that had the action, had the character interactions, but had that zombie-like feel that I thought was great. So overall, this is definitely an A-. Probably like an 8 out of 10. Something like that. So now we get into episode 3, and this is an episode that I was honestly enjoying the entire thing. This might be my favorite episode of the series, mainly because it just did two things I loved. It explored more on our characters, twists and turns, and good action sequences, but also, it also unveiled what happened with Spider-Man and Black Panther and Scott Lang's head at the end of the What If episode. So I was kind of interested going into it because I'm also thinking, how is this scene going to work? Because you have T'Challa on one leg, Spider-Man is okay, you have a Scott Lang head, and then you have an almost complete Infinity Gauntlet zombified Thanos. And how is this going to work? And somehow they actually made it work. One of the big positives I could say about this is the way they handled Black Panther, which he was doing pretty well on just on one leg. Like, that was actually pretty impressive. That's a true king right there. And him being the one to sacrifice himself to save the universe and save his friends, to save his kingdom, that was very serviceable for the character. And also, I think it also made sense why they had Peter Parker narrate it, and so that way they didn't want to recast T'Challa to have T'Challa be voiced by someone else. So have him narrating it, I thought was really good. And I also like that it kind of felt like, what if the Avengers battle in Wakanda with Thanos was a lot more epic, to where you actually got to see the Wakandan core come out. And what if the impact of these stones actually meant something bigger than Thanos just destroying them after he used them? Like, it takes little things like that and it makes it a lot more interesting. So I really enjoyed the opening sequence to this one. I really enjoyed where we left off from the last episode. Also got to give a big shout out to Thor, Rocket, and Groot for showing up and actually kind of showing them in that animation style. It was kind of weird to see those characters in this animation style, just because, I mean, I know we've seen Thor before, but in this hairstyle, it just kind of looked weird. And the fact that they actually got, like, dusted off from the Power Stone was insane. We also got this guy from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so that was kind of cool, as they saved Peter Parker and Scott Lang's head from the Infinity Stones. So now we see our heroes, and they're basically on their way to New Asgard, which once again, much like the abandoned shield base in episode 1 and the raft in episode 2, this one takes the MCU and does another unique, interesting place to where we actually go to New Asgard. And instead of it being this goofy place that we saw in like a little bit of it in Endgame and basically the goofiness in Thor Love and Thunder, this one actually takes it seriously. Like, I love this shot that basically like it's a big palace and it has all these Asgardian statues, which I am questioning a little bit as to how these people were able to get those statues down from Asgard onto Earth, but whatever. And basically, it's kind of like a safe haven where basically everybody gets to live, eat, dance, and party all day, and it seems pretty great. So now, unfortunately, this New Asgard place is not a safe haven and is actually being controlled by the Queen of the Dead, Wanda Maximoff herself, the Scarlet Witch. And first off, gotta give props to Elizabeth Olsen coming back to voice the character. I believe this is actually the second time she's voiced the character in the What If animation. First time we ever heard her voice was in What If Season 2, Episode 8, I believe, in the Avengers 1602 episode. But her voice performance was really good, and honestly, while it was really good to hear her voice, it also felt kind of disturbing. And I think that's what the point of the episode was, so I really enjoyed her performance, and I liked that everything was a twist, where basically everything was a lie. All the food, it was human parts. And now all the Asgardians, they're now zombies, and now she's using them as her own zombie army, which is pretty messed up, I'm not going to lie. So now all our heroes are now trying to escape. We get some fun action sequences. A few characters die, such as Death Dealer and Jimmy Woo, but we have our lasting survivors with Shang-Chi, KD, Blade, Miss Marvel, and Valkyrie. And unfortunately, while they're trying to escape on the same ship that the Asgardians were trying to escape from Sakaar on Thor Ragnarok, Thor goes to try and help our fellow heroes escaping. And something I want to comment on Thor for a minute is that I kind of thought when he got blasted by Thanos in the flashback at the beginning, I thought he died because we didn't see him again, and we also didn't see his hammer again. So I kind of thought maybe he got destroyed when Thanos blasted. So I'm like, okay, but I guess he lived, so I guess he's a god. But he doesn't live for too much longer. So now we get the finale, well, not the finale, but we get the closing of this episode where basically our heroes escape. They try to go to space to get their device to the Nova Corps. First off, much like Namor, I'm kind of confused as to how these people know about the Nova Corps. I guess the MCU is just like so established at this point. But basically, well, actually there's two things I want to talk about the Nova Corps. We'll talk about the things I liked about it. First things first, I liked that basically it was a twist that the Nova Corps aren't here to help. They're not all there to help. They're here to quarantine the entire planet and basically to keep anything that is willing to get out to stay there. And I really like that twist, and I think it's good. There's just one problem. Didn't Thanos go to nowhere to steal the Power Stone? Obviously, I'm pretty sure half the people survived, but how would half of Nova Corps ships be able to live in order to guard like this thing? It makes no sense, and that's I think that's one of the other things that I think the MCU is a little bit stupid. It knows it, but then it also doesn't, because they did this back in the episode in What If, where basically the Avengers just go to San Francisco. Obviously, it wasn't all of them with Thor and Hulk, because they were in Thor Ragnarok, but then it's like, so it gets the movies, but it's not doing exactly what the movies did. It's kind of weird. It's almost like they're doing Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, except being like the MCU, but not really. It's like, and I feel like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man works better because it's kind of a more, fleshed out Spider-Man universe, but I don't know. But overall, I definitely really enjoyed this episode, and I'm going to give it a solid A-, and I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for entertainment. Very entertaining episode. So now we are on to our final episode of the series, which I feel like I don't have too much to say. Obviously, I think every episode that came out after episode 1, I think is severely better. The way it gets better. I will say my favorite episode so far of this series is episodes 2 and 3. I think I like episode 3 the best just because of the flashback, but also the twists and turns that we get in it and the action. I just thought it was great. With this episode, I just kind of felt like it was a combination of like cool character arcs, great action sequences, and also a good twist, but never had that much going until like the last like 20-30 minutes. Though these episodes are like 20-30 minutes. But real quick, we got to talk about, our heroes arriving at Karmatage. Love the little interaction with Peter Parker and Kamala Khan, which actually this episode shows what a Peter Parker would be like if he actually did live the 5 years. And you can see he's a little bit taller, he's a little bit more grown up, and I like that. I thought it was really cool. And also seeing Spider-Man and Miss Marvel interact was also really fun. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is I don't know if you guys know or haven't watched this show yet, but essentially, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, she is actually the main protagonist of this show. And what are my thoughts on her being the main character? I think she's cool. I kind of don't have too much to say. I mean, I think she's a nice leading force. She does have a good character interaction. I think all the characters she interacts with, especially like when she was interacting with Red Guardian, I thought that was really good. Her little scene with Shang-Chi I thought was really cool. So overall, like I like her as a main character. And also, I've completely minded her powers as of this time, so even though I'm not the biggest fan of them, I have adjusted to the way they are used, so I'm kind of okay with them at this point. So now we kind of learn what happened to the Hulk. Now obviously we don't get every single character from the Marvel Zombies episode in Marvel Zombies, but we do get confirmation of what happened to Hulk. We don't get what happened to Bucky, but we do get what happened to Hulk, and essentially he is no longer Bruce Banner or the Hulk. He is basically the anchor being that basically became the power of all 6 Infinity Stones. And to be honest, I heard a lot of backlash saying that he's just so, like, overpowered or something like that. Like, he has the power of the Infinity Stones. He can't, like, wipe out all of the armies. Which I guess does make a little bit of sense, but he was doing a pretty good number on some of the zombies. I won't lie to you. Like, he was doing a pretty good number on them. And really the animation style of the way he was used, I thought was really well done. So, I actually kind of enjoyed Infinity Hulk. But along the way, our last stand of heroes come to protect our Infinity Hulk. And I am still kind of trying to figure out as to how some of these heroes survive the zombie apocalypse. Me personally, if we were actually in the main MCU timeline and a zombie apocalypse did actually happen, I personally don't think Katie or Miss Marvel would be the ones to survive. Neither would Valkyrie because she's always drunk. But fight starts to break out, and some of the action here, I was actually looking back at some of the clips, and I'm not gonna lie, some of the clips were actually pretty awesome. Like Spider-Man gets some good moments besides just the cutting of the heads, but you do get some great moments in here. Lots of gory stuff and lots of cool action there. And overall, just a pretty satisfying stuff. And it almost feels like the combination of like the Infinity War battle and Endgame, but a little bit smaller. Which is kind of my frustration with this fight, as it's like you're having a few heroes against a whole army of zombies, plus a few ones that are actually skilled superheroes or villains, or anti-heroes for that matter. So I thought it was cool, but I feel like it could have been way better if we had a lot more heroes. But unfortunately, we have a new weapon of force where Wanda has corrupted Thor with the zombie virus, and he has become Zombie Thor, and it turns out Stormbreaker actually survived as well as him, and he actually kills Blade. I didn't realize that he actually did, but he turns his whole thing into skeletons, and I'm like, bro, He killed Blade. That's crazy. The God of Thunder killed Blade. But to be honest, the little bit of zombie Thor that we actually got was actually pretty crazy. Like, he literally goes to toe with Infinity Hulk, which once again, never imagined Thor throwing hands with Hulk, with Stormbreaker. Because honestly, like, I like the idea of that, but at the same time, it's also like, don't you realize you could probably kill this guy? I mean, yeah, he has Infinity Stones, so it probably could have worked better, but at the same time, that also makes him a little bit tougher of a foe to defeat. So, that's my thing, but it's also crazy that Hulk was actually that one that killed him. So, turns out he's actually the strongest one he is. The strongest one there is. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the finale of this episode. And basically, Wanda hooks up. She gets with, what's her name? Kamala and Infinity Hulk, and basically creates a brand new reality. Where basically Kamala wakes up in her bed, she goes downstairs, and Riri and Kate Bishop are actually alive. And that's what we have come to see. And then Kamala starts looking out, and she still sees zombies. But she sees Riri Williams attacking and being like, hey, it's fake, it's fake. Don't believe her, it's fake. And you start to get this interpretation that at the battlefield, when they were attacked by zombies, Kate Bishop died, but Riri, she probably survived. And I was thinking this whole time that maybe, like, Riri died as well. They just didn't show it. Because why would you want to show, like, a teenage girl, like, you know, getting killed? But, like, that's pretty cool. And if she's going to come back in season 2, yippee! And maybe we get to see more of her, and maybe see her interact with other MCU heroes. So, I'm excited. Like, honestly, this one was really good. Alright, so that basically sums up my review for Marvel's Zombies. If you guys know me, going into it at first, I was a little bit skeptical, just because, of course, I liked the episode. I really enjoyed the episode from What If, but for me, I kind of feel like when they first announced it, it's like, after they announced it, it's like the hype of all these Marvel projects coming out, it's kind of like, and as you saw Phase 5 and how it went, the excitement just kind of dwindled down, and we haven't heard about it anything from over a year, and we haven't heard about it anything since it got announced, so it's like it kind of lost hope. But then, when we got those trailers, they proved that, like, oh, maybe there's something that they're actually cooking here. And also, keep in mind, this is also the first MCU project where I actually felt like, all the R-rated and TVMA stuff, it actually lived up to it. Because you watch Deadpool and Daredevil and Echo, and, like, they got that goriness, but I never felt, like, geeked out about it. Unlike this one, where you actually see people getting split in half. You see, like, gunshots going through people's heads, arrows going through people's heads. You got, like, all this gory, bloody stuff, and it's awesome, and it's great. I wish we got a few more curse words in here, but it was more for the action than the actual cursing. If you want good curse words, go to Deadpool. You're going to get it more there. But overall, I absolutely love Marvel Zombies. I cannot wait for Season 2. So overall, I'm going to give Marvel Zombies an A-. And on the entertainment score, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, that is my review for Marvel Animation's Marvel Zombies. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're wondering why my fit now looks a little bit different compared to the rest of the video from how I looked in the beginning, it's because I filmed that part yesterday and I'm filming this part as of the day it's being posted. Because I didn't finish filming yesterday, I had to finish filming today. But I really appreciate you guys. I'm going to leave a playlist of all the 2025 MCU projects, of all the content that I reviewed. And then on here, I'm going to leave the video of my review for Marvel Zombies episode from What If. And then if you liked this video, and if you like this channel, and if you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. And also, links, well, not links, but comments of Letterboxd, Instagram, and TikTok are all in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.